And we are live. Yes, it's another
All right.
Star Trek Discovery discussion. But before we start, we'd like to intro you into this discussion. So enjoy, friends. Pretty dope, wasn't it? That was from Michael Giacchino. That's the Star Trek Into the Darkness suit. So yes, this is a mix between the original Star Trek, the 2009 movie, the original Star Trek shows and movies, and the Star Trek Into the Darkness sequel from J.J. Abrams. You know, the Abrams lineup.
Pretty cool mix.
Pretty cool mix. So we are back. Earth 2 is back. Myself, and today I'm kind of shorthanded, but I still feel like I'm good because I'm here with Patrick, the guy with the glasses.
The guy, the white guy with glasses.
The white guy with glasses. He knows what he's talking about. So yeah.
No Lucas to convince though.
We are going to be talking about the episode 4, Star Trek Discovery, and this episode is titled "The Butcher's Knife Cares Not for the Lamb's Cry." This is a very, very interesting title. It's pretty deep. When I saw the title, I was like, what does it mean? And then when I watched the episode, like maybe towards the end of it, halfway into it, and I was like, this makes a lot of sense. But before we get into this, I am going to ask, I'm going to start something that I wanted to do last week. And this is what we missed from last week's episode, or what we got wrong from last week's episode. The first thing being the black alert, because we got a lot of black alert in this episode. And now, if you didn't get it from last week, you would totally understand that the black alert happens when they're about to teleport or transport super fast. So that's where the black alert comes.
It kind of makes sense now because, like, remember there was weird stuff going on with the water or whatever while they were black alerting. And since the saucer spins, I would suspect that creates like some sort of centrifugal force. So I bet that's what's going on there. Is that the black alert's creating that kind of force?
That's exactly what the black alert is and what it creates. And, you know, the water, I think it's letting you guys know we're about to go into this super spinny thing. And you guys need to like brace or keep, be careful. That was one thing we missed. And the other thing we missed, or something we didn't really miss, but you brought to my attention. So do you want to let our viewers know what it is?
What was that? Oh, we're still getting all the details on it. It seems like they're doing a slow reveal. But basically, we have our first gay couple, is my understanding, ever in Star Trek on the bridge of the ship. It's pretty crazy. Anthony Rapp, who plays as Paul Stamets, so the scientist, the mushroom scientist or whatever.
Yes.
And then we met what's his name? Whoever the doctor is.
From the Glen, right?
No. I think it's actually the doctor that we met this episode.
Oh, so it's not the dude from the Glen.
It's not. Yeah. It's not the dude from the Glen. It's the doctor that we met this past episode.
Interesting.
I think is eventually going to be revealed to be like his gay partner. But anyways, both those actors are from Rent, from like the old Broadway musical Rent from back in the 90s. And that's pretty cool because Rent obviously kind of blew the door open kind of for pop culture and dealing with, like, I would say Rent and then the movie Philadelphia were the two kind of key things that kind of blew open homosexuality for pop culture. So, I mean, I don't know. I have to think back to a while ago, but it just seems like that's what really opened things up. So the fact that you now have two former cast members playing this kind of important role in Star Trek. It's kind of cool. It's kind of exciting. It's a nice. I mean, I don't know. It's like coming full circle almost, right? That like now that's not even that big of a deal, and it's just a regular characters playing those roles on Star Trek.
That was pretty interesting. Like when you brought it to my attention, I was like, this is great, because the show is not just the show is breaking a lot of barriers in the sense that it's not just about just Sonequa playing, a major character, or the fact that Philippa was a major Philippa and Sonequa being Philippa was the captain, and Sonequa was the first officer, number one. It's never this was the first in Star Trek lore, right? Where it's a female captain and a female number one. We finally got that. This, now we have we may, or we don't know how it is going to play out yet, but we might have a gay couple. So this is pretty.
It's Wilson Cruz. I was trying to remember the name of the other actor. Wilson Cruz played Angel in Rent, and then Anthony Rapp played Mark. So those are like two of the main characters. And then also, if you really think back to My So-Called Life, if you remember that show from a long time ago, Wilson Cruz also played a gay character on that show, which was on regular TV. And I think that might have been one of the first kind of gay characters on just a regular TV show too. Because I'm pretty sure that like even predates a lot of other stuff. So it's just kind of cool. I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty interesting that this show is being as inclusive as it's being, and I really like it. It's not leaving. It's interesting because in every Star Trek iteration we've gotten, even in the movies, it's been a thing where it's not the forefront. It's usually something in the background.
That's I think the cool thing is, even if you think back to the original series, you had women on the bridge, you had multi races on the bridge, but it was never like highlighted as a thing, because it's supposed to be in the future where that's just like normal.
It's normal, yeah,
right. And I think that actually does more than highlighting it, if that makes sense. It's like showing a future where like this is not even a thing that's a thing, right?
Yeah, so nobody cares, but
exactly.
We seem to be offended in this present. It's amazing. Right. So that was the what we missed or what we got wrong from episode 3. Now we're gonna go full on into episode 4. The butcher's knife cares not for the lamb's cry. That is a mouthful.
Yes, it's like the longest episode name ever.
But when you watch the episode, I want to know, before we get into this, when did it hit you? When did the title of the episode hit you, and you were like, so this is why?
I don't think it really hit me until we were actually doing the long, what do we want to call that? Jump, fold. What do they call it in the show?
What did they
call it? A jump or a fold I think of it as a fold. But
it's a fold. Yes, I'll call it a fold. Yeah.
So, because that's when we actually have Ripper in the cage, and you're like, okay, I see what's going on here. I don't know. What about you? Like, when did it hit you? Or what did that title really mean to you, I guess?
Okay, when it so I saw it at first and I was like, this is pretty long, especially because I was prepping the live, I was prepping this and I was like, okay,
you do way more prep work than I do, so I'm sure you
I was prepping this and I was like, okay, so this is the title, and I'm like, all right, whatever. So I'm watching the episode and I get to we see her bring Ripper the spores twice. The first time she was getting to know Ripper. The second time, Ripper came out to get the spores and then trailed back like, I don't think I want this. Like, you tricked me the first time. And that was when I was like, this is the title. The lamb being Ripper and the butcher being maybe Lorca or the ship, not caring about what they're doing to Ripper. Like, they're actually hurting him, it looks like.
Yeah.
And so that was when it hit me.
Treat him as an animal, right?
As an animal, exactly.
It's like, what, who cares about? It's pretty crazy progressive, honestly, if you think about it. Yeah, like making you care as much as you do for this beast, and we don't even know. I did not see that coming at all, but the way they took things is way. This is why I think My opinion now is you can make a decision now about the show if you watch the first 4 episodes.
Yes.
Because they have clearly shown the direction they're going. And it would have been really easy to just go like, you know, unthinking, violent beast with Ripper. And nobody would have thought any different. That would have been fine. It would have been like, okay, it's like this crazy alien thing. And that's not what they did. And that, in my opinion, that's what differentiates Star Trek from so much other sci-fi.
Exactly. All right. So we've talked about that. I don't know if I want to ask what you thought about the episode now, because I just want to do a quick recap. So let me do a quick recap, and then we'll talk about if you liked the episode, what you liked, what you didn't like, and then we'll go into that. So
I'll do my best not to interrupt you.
All right, thank you. No, it's fine if you do, because we're gonna keep this tight. So if you do want to interrupt or add something to what I'm talking about, please go ahead. So it starts off. What did you? Okay, I said I wasn't gonna ask any questions, but I am. What did you think when you saw the beginning of the episode? After they're done the previously on Star Trek Discovery, and you saw that little animation with the lightning and the blue.
Oh, by the way, I'm really glad that they're doing the previously on, because I think I don't know. I think it's good for bringing people in, because eventually the show, we're going to be so deep in it. A lot of shows don't do that anymore, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Sorry. So what did I think was going on when they're doing that crazy stuff? I was like, whoa, like, is this some sort of Klingon? That's what I thought first, was it we were like dealing with the Klingons, and that this was like some Klingon weapon, or they were in like some sort of cosmic, like something that was going on. Like we were going to see some ships start flying around in the storm or something like that. It wasn't that at all.
that was so sick. I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. And it was just her suit, her uniform was being made.
Yeah.
So I'm like, did they really just okie doke the hell out of us? Because I'm thinking this is the craziest sequence I've ever seen in my life. And it was just really her uniform was being made. So
you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the opening to like the old Spider-Man movies, when there's like the web going on.
I'm sorry, that was all me. I'm so sorry. But yeah, it did remind me of that. Go ahead.
So it reminded me of like the web that was going on or whatever. But that was really cool, because I think we take for granted now in the Star Trek universe that they can just like make something out of nothing.
Yes.
And that's actually kind of miraculous and crazy. And so it kind of reminded you of how insane that simple thing is.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen them go into the mess hall and request food, and it comes out of nowhere. We've never seen
exactly
materializes. So I believe this that sequence showed us, like, if you went somewhere, you push the button, this is what happens inside of the machine for that to happen. That was pretty cool. So now we know. So the episode starts off with that. The computer talks about her rank, where she, her job placement, and
what do you think about she gets a package? Did we ever talk about that? Like in episode 1?
There are 2 colors.
But did we ever talk about whether you like them? Okay.
I think the uniforms are unique.
Yeah.
Unique to Star Trek, because this is. So, quick question: every other Star Trek show we've ever seen, have we really seen a science vessel Star Trek show ever?
No. I mean, we've seen a lot of science vessels on Star Trek, but they always get blown up or rescued. They're always like the weak, helpless,
the weaker ship
that like Enterprise or somebody has to come and save.
So, my question is this uniform distinct to a science vessel?
It can't be, because this is the uniform they were wearing on the Shenzhou, right? And that was an exploratory or some sort of scout vessel, right?
Right. But I don't know. This uniform is unique. I really like the V-neck. I'm partial to the V-neck with the black crew neck T-shirt inside of it. I'm partial to
definitely
that.
Better than the turtleneck. Remember the turtleneck face?
Wow. Yeah, we're off that. We're now V-neck with a crew neck T-shirt inside of it. But yeah, so and then she receives a package from Philippa and declines to open it.
I didn't totally understand what that was at first. Like I didn't realize till we came back to it. Oh, this is like her last will kind of.
Yes. And so she had a confrontation with Saru in the elevator going up to the brig. So we saw a lot of the brig this episode.
Yes. Yeah. Wait,
Do
the
you feel
brig?
about
The
that?
bridge, not the brig, the bridge.
I'm sorry, the bridge. I'm sorry,
Oh, I
it's the
just
bridge.
misunderstood you.
I did. Yes, you, because I remember, was it last week you said you don't know how you'd feel if you didn't see the bridge a lot.
Yes. And I still agree with that.
How,
I think they agree with that. I think that they know that and they're being forced to. There was no reason for Michael to even be going up to the bridge in that scene other than for us to go. Yeah, because she was going to meet somebody, right? She was going to meet Lorca.
was she?
She was going to meet Lorca.
Yeah, she was going to meet Lorca.
There was like no reason for her to even be up in the bridge other than for them to show us a bridge scene. Because they just know like the bridge is where everything happens in Star Trek.
Everything. And so we get up there. You know, before we get up there, we see her and Saru talking. And his what does she call him? Ganglia? Threat ganglia.
Threat ganglia, yeah.
So he perceives her as a legitimate threat.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Like she's a legitimate threat to him. And so they have that little confrontation and we get on the bridge.
Dangerous.
And then we get on the bridge. It's funny, right? Then we get on the bridge and then we see that battle simulation, which I think was important for us to see because it came full circle towards the end of the episode. So we see that
and they sucked.
Yes.
They got rocked. What was Lorca's line? He said something about doing better. There was some line where he was just like, he threw all the shade on them.
Everything. Like he didn't, like that's why I was like, yo, this guy is he's so mysterious and he's so cool. Like I don't know how I feel about him, but
he's like the boss you can never please.
I would definitely serve if you asked me to choose.
No way.
Like, I don't know. For some reason, I just feel like. But you know what's funny? We're gonna get to it. So, and then he and
if
Michael,
you had the brain that was needed to jump, he would have thrown you in there.
This is true. This is very true.
That's why you don't.
We get that confrontation, and so now he and Michael exit the bridge, and they get into the what I wrote in my notes. I called it the Hall of Weapons.
Okay. Yep.
So there were all these weapons. I think there was a Klingon blade in there.
Yep.
It was a Klingon blade. There were guns. There was even a samurai sword I spotted. And Lorca said he owns his craft. He's into fighting. He's into war, and he owns it. And this is where I own my craft. This is where I hone my craft. I'm sorry. And so he's there, and then he shows her the beast, who will get a code name for because Commander Landry gave the beast a code name.
That whole part was a bit of a surprise to me too. I didn't expect him to just roll her in there and to be like, "Here it is," like, and for her to be okay with that. She seemed a little too okay with it.
Just like last week when he put her in that little chamber, and I thought, like you thought, he was about to kill her.
Yeah, you're like, are you dumb? Like, why are you walking into a caged location? You don't know what those things are in that tube. Like, you don't know what's about to happen.
So she's in there, and yeah, Michael's just, I don't know if she's too trusting.
She seems to be Michael is perfect and does nothing wrong. I think she does a lot of stuff
everything wrong. She's so trusting.
Yeah.
Like, how do you walk in because someone says walk in here? You just smooth walk in there. Like, no, I'm not. I'm gonna like here. What is this about? And all that good stuff. But she doesn't seem to care. So now we cut from there and we get to the Klingons. This was a really good episode because, again, the first episode, the second episode, the third episode forgot about the Klingons.
Yeah.
This one brought us back. So yes, the main Klingon vessel is stranded because you remember the bomb that blew them up,
right? And
so they're stranded, and they're starting to get hungry because they got to eat.
Yep. I thought that was interesting. They're just like laying there in space with nothing to do for 6 months. For 6 months.
And something was said to me because something I spotted was really interesting. The female Klingon, what her name was, Laurel. I believe her name was Laurel. So she tells the albino Klingon, "Hey, look, you got to go get the dilithium drive because if you don't get it, we'll all starve and probably die." So he's like, "I don't want to sully, Takuma's name. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do this because Takuma left me in charge. they killed Takuma. I am not going to get help from them. Like
Well, this whole thing is remain Klingon, so using Federation technology
changes everything.
Yeah,
and that's crazy. But somehow he manages. Somehow she convinces him. I mean,
Yep.
it's amazing. She convinced him, and he went and got it. But we get back to Discovery, and Michael is starting to really study the beast. In walks Commander Landry, and she's like, "Yeah, Lorca sent me here. We need to do this together." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, "Oh, we're gonna get a super female team up. This is gonna be super girl and girl."
Really?
That's what I thought. That's what I thought it was.
I knew they were not going to get along. No way. I knew.
Really?
Yeah, I knew. They haven't gotten along the whole time.
I thought they were going to find common ground, get along, move on. But
you didn't want
right,
her on that team last week, remember?
Yes. So that happens, and she's like, "Look, whatever happens, we got to do this. We are going to."
I love that we see how smart Michael is in this episode.
Yes. So you know what's funny? As you said, Anthony would come on and say Michael is too smart, or she just gets things done, and we never see her go through a process. We actually see her go through a process in this episode. And she actually scientifically discovers things, because especially in the fact that when she brought Saru into the room,
right?
Whether
it feels like we're discovering it with her, because at every step she has a hypothesis, and then she's testing that hypothesis, and then we see what happens, and we're like basically in the room with her, testing the hypothesis with her, being like, what's about to happen?
Exactly.
Right? Like every time she turns off that force field, you're like,
I was scared.
Like, what is about to happen? And so that, a lot of times in sci-fi, one person is just really smart and they'll just kind of hand wavy, like, oh, I know the answer. And then they just solve the problem. But instead of like knowing the answer, she was just like looking at information, telling us, the audience, what that information was. And then we were like going through the scientific process with her, which is really awesome. And very Star Trek. That's like very Star Trek, as opposed to like just...
Yes. As opposed to just fight, or someone is just super smart and they get it every time, and you never know how they get it, but they just get it.
Or like the cheat of like one person says one word and then they're like, oh, that's the answer, right? Like they jog their memory and then they like exactly.
So the best part about this is Landry is, we're just gonna do whatever we need to do, sedate it, do all of these things, like drug it, test it.
Yeah, Landry's ready to kill. Like, Landry's in charge. She probably would have killed the beast, and then they would have never even discovered what was going on. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Funny enough, is in this episode we get to see that certain people are super loyal to Lorca, and some people are not. Yeah. Landry being one of them. She's really loyal to Lorca. Saru isn't as loyal to Lorca as we think.
Yeah.
He just wants to protect his captain, and I think
the whole bridge seems, everybody seems divided.
Yes, and I
was curious because we know that doctor is going to be a love interest of some sort for the scientist. But he was like standing next to Lorca when Lorca's given that speech, and he seemed totally played video, and he was totally fine. So I'm wondering that's even going to be a divide.
That might. So we're gonna see in this show, we're gonna see the ship split in two. For and against. So far it seems like the super science people are against.
Yeah.
Like, now we've seen, Landry, who is a super attack. She's 100% behind Lorca. Saru isn't, but Saru is gonna protect his captain because he wants to do it because he's being petty towards Michael. I truly believe Saru is against
Lorca?
Yes, I truly believe he is.
I think at the end of the day he will be, but right now he just wants to like be a good number one first officer.
Right.
I think it's really interesting because what you're describing now, getting my brain thinking, is almost like a mutiny within a ship.
Right.
You have one side of the ship against the other side of the ship, and like already we have the mutineer on the ship.
Right.
So that's kind of an interesting dynamic that Michael now has to deal with, where she's kind of caught in the middle of a passive aggressive mutiny that's kind of already exists on this new ship.
Oh, I wouldn't say number one because when Anthony watches this, he's gonna be offended by you for saying number one.
That's fine. Saru is number one. Some food number one.
Food is number one.
Value meal number one.
We'll also get to find out what Ripper's relationship with the Spores is, because that's why he was on the Glen. One, and two, because the Glen. Remember when I kept telling you guys the Glen was already ahead of Discovery, and you guys were, it's impossible. How was it? This was another thing we missed last week.
Indifferent, but Anthony definitely was like, no way.
Yeah, Anthony was like, there was no way, because Lorca would have been on that ship as opposed to Discovery. Yeah. No. Find out why, and we find out what the real accident was. The accident was, again, when they came out of the fold, they hit something, and that's why they got that accident, because they had been doing these jumps forever.
Yeah. We still don't really know how they got the Ripper, right? Like, we don't know where Ripper came from.
I mean, we don't know where it came from, but what was said is it was a stowaway on their ship, and it has this symbiotic relationship with the Spores. Yeah. And it also the Ripper is a very, very intelligent creature, and it has a lot stored in its brain. It has a lot of destinations, and
seems like it had a huge star map, basically, right?
A huge star map, pretty much, and that's how they were able to jump to certain places. But you were right. You said that Lorca has a boss.
Mm-hmm. And we saw it. We met the boss briefly.
We met the boss, yeah, Admiral Cromwell.
Oh man, you are on top of it. I was like, some person.
So now I'm gonna adjust my theory. There's a French division of Starfleet.
Okay.
And that's the division that's invested in this war.
Okay.
And they are the people who are going to, do what they can and have to do to win this war. And those are the people who
all of Starfleet's in the war?
No. I think all of Starfleet is in the war, but then there's this French division who's like, yes, we're in the war with you, but we're gonna go above. We're gonna cross lines.
They're like special forces. Yeah, they're like special forces, black ops, whatever.
Yeah. So we'll cross lines. So those are his bosses, and they're like, and that's who okayed the mission, and is okay with Discovery doing what they're doing, and probably who okayed Michael, because someone had to send Philip, because it was in this episode when I figured, he has a boss. Because someone had to send Philippa's stuff to Michael.
I wouldn't be surprised if half the crew has dirt on them.
Right. Might be right. Half the crew could have dirt on them, and we wouldn't. Like, this is something where it's like Discovery and maybe the Glen are those two ships that, have a lot of maybe like disturbed, or they don't care about the crew as much as they would.
It makes sense to grab some of the crew of the Shenzhou, because they would have like an axe to grind against the Klingons, right? So it makes sense you would grab people who are bitter and willing to get vengeance. Like they want to get vengeance on the Klingons on a ship like the Discovery.
Yeah. So Admiral Cromwell calls in and is like, so another thing I found out in this show that I may have a slight problem with is the holocomms.
Okay.
Have holocoms been a thing on Star Trek?
So I heard a rumor that they show up at some point. That technology shows up at some point on Enterprise. Do you remember that at all? It does show up on DS9. It actually plays. There's like one season where they use it a bunch on DS9.
But wasn't DS9 past Enterprise? Isn't Enterprise in the past? And DS9 is somewhere in the future of that?
Yeah. So, but I'm just saying that apparently in Enterprise, it pops up at some point. Do you know, or do you remember?
Yeah, but in Discovery, I can't. I probably have to go watch it again. But in Discovery, we've seen it maybe, three or four times now?
Yeah, it's kind of the standard way that they use communication. When they get to DS9, it looks really it basically just looks like the person is in the room. If you look up Holo Communicator on the web, on Google, they show you what it looks like by the time it gets to DS9, and it's basically just this like ring on the floor It's like a ring on the floor, and then when they summon somebody like to be on there, they're just like standing there as if they were. It's almost like the Doctor in Voyager, where they're like hollow projecting that person in the room. So it does actually have, and apparently it also shows up in some Klingon technology in the movies for the original series. So apparently Klingons use it.
It did show up on this show in the Klingon ship. Remember when Takuma was had finally summoned all the houses, and
the weird part is how many people are actually hung up on this thing. It's kind of a weird thing to be hung up on.
It's just the fact that this show's 10 years before. What's the show? 10 years before.
So I read that Gene Roddenberry wanted to do something like this, but he realized that he wanted it to be real clear that it was 3-dimensional, that like the image wasn't something that you were just looking at flat, but was 3-dimensional. And he realized putting that on screen, there was no way, especially like when Gene Roddenberry was like doing Star Trek, put on screen the fact that this was something that you could walk around and not just like a flat image. And so that's why he just kept with view screens for so long, is because.
And so
what you're saying he had that idea.
Technology. So the technology back then wouldn't let them be able to do it. It's not like it wasn't something that should have happened. It's just the technology back then.
Right. So it's not like something that like is totally against Star Trek, because apparently Gene Roddenberry himself wanted to kind of do it. He just couldn't figure out how to do it well.
Well, you know what? I'm okay with that then. I'm fine. I'm fine with that. If that's the way that we're gonna go, then I'm okay with that. But
the fact it shows up in DS9, it looks good, looks better. That also, I think people don't. Here's what I think people don't like about it. It looks too much like Star Wars, and there is still some of that antagonism between Star Trek and Star Wars.
That's exactly what I thought I was looking at. It's like, help me, Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
like, that's exactly what I thought I was looking at. But anyway, so Cromwell calls in and tells Lorca, look, there's a problem on a mining colony. What was the name of the colony? Crap, I have that somewhere. I'll remember when we get back.
The place with all the dilithium. That's all that matters.
Yeah, the place with all the dilithium. And you have to go there and save them. The Klingons are attacking. They're going to die. Let's play you that distress signal. She plays it for him, and Lorca's like, yes. Did you see his eyes gleam when she played it for him? He was like, yes.
He's been waiting. He wants to fight. He doesn't want to be on no science vessel.
No, he really doesn't. And so he
who put me on this science vessel?
And so he goes to talk to Mr. Stamets. And so we get a cut from there and we get back to the Klingons. And so Cole, if you remember, I think in episode 1 or 2, when the albino Klingon was talking to the houses, or when Takuma was talking to the house, and then albino was like, yeah, I'm like his right hand dude, so you guys could talk to me too. And he's about to be here or whatever. And she's like, and one of the guys was like, why would I talk to you? You're an albino. You're from the house of no one. You're ugly, pretty much because you don't look like us. This is amazing what this show is doing.
Yeah.
Like with the Klingons, we haven't even gotten to the human side of it, but we're playing with the aliens, and even the aliens are being, you don't look like us, so go away. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And so, one of the Klingons says to Cole came back and he bent the knee. He was like, okay, I'm sorry, you're definitely Takuma's heir, and I'm here to help. Whatever you need, I'll give you food, I'll supply you with whatever. And he does. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. And Takuma,
I feel bad. I should have seen. We'll go through things, but I should have seen what was coming, and I didn't.
Right?
I actually didn't.
You know what? I thought he was coming to bend the knee, like truce, whatever.
That's like talk about good acting, because that should have been obvious.
Seriously,
yeah,
that should have been obvious. Or maybe is it because we didn't understand the language?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think it's also for me because I know honor is such a big part of Klingons, right? So Klingons usually, their yes is yes and their no is no. Like, you don't expect them to.
Right.
They will tell you they're going to kill you and then kill you.
Right. Exactly. So that happened, and so okay, now we get back to Discovery, and Stamets and Lorca had argued the first time they had this confrontation. We can't do this. We're not ready. Lorca's like, look, are you gonna let these people die? Let's do it. And so their first jump lands them about to fall into a star. And
that was amazing.
Yes.
But in some ways, I think the special effects guys were like, hey, we just really want to throw Discovery on top of a star. Can you find an excuse to write why that happens? Because it looked so good. It looked so good.
You know what when I saw that, I was like, yes, because I didn't want the first major jump to be right into the thick of things and they saved the day. I wanted them to go through like a whole, we missed it the first time. What did we miss? Let's find out. Like, even if you ended the episode right there and it came down to like the first 15 or 20 minutes of them trying to save, the colony, I would have been okay with that. Just not having them find out in the first.
I thought they were gonna jump. I thought they were gonna jump somewhere near the colony and then have to warp like normal style to where the colony was. So I was kind of surprised when they didn't do that. But I mean, what we really need to talk about is because that's the reveal.
Let me let you talk about it because I know you're super excited about that.
Well, so we've all been trying to figure out like what everybody
the ship's design.
All the haters are like, why does it got a hole in the middle and it looks stupid? I think this ship looks stupid. Why wouldn't the saucer be complete? And then we were thinking it's a science vessel, so maybe like part of the saucer separates, like Enterprise D or like something like that. But once it started spinning, I was like, that is amazing. And that is like, that gives the folding kind of an extra effect that we also love. Like, we love when those nacelles kind of like fire up and we see warp. And so the folding, we kind of get the same thing. So I love that. I thought, and it also explained the black alerts. Like, it explained a lot.
When you're spinning, and you're probably going to be spinning at a really high rate of speed. Yeah. When you're spinning, you can have, moisture buildup.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful to look at.
It's just good. It's cool looking. Like, it's just a nice visual effect. And it's interesting because it also reveals some story. Because what it reveals is that Discovery and the Glenn were designed for the specific purpose of this folding. Yes. Like, from the very beginning.
Because those are only two ships that look that way that we've seen, though.
Right. And it also explains why they're brand new. Because they've only just now figured out this folding thing at the most basic level. And they must have, thrown together these ships as fast. Who knows? Like, they could have been... I don't know how old the ships are, but it seems like they're really new.
Yes.
So it's really, really cutting edge. The only downside I was thinking about this is that because it's so integral to what the ship does, I can't imagine us resolving kind of the story arc about folding until the show is basically over.
Right. And this probably explains why past Discovery, or why from this point we're not gonna see this ship design anymore.
Right. Yeah. It has a purpose. It's functional. It's not just aesthetic. It actually has a function, which is really cool.
Even though it does look cool. It looks really cool. Yeah, but it's a purposeful, cool looking ship. So that happened, and we moved from that, and so they fall into the star. Mr. Stamets gets injured. Is it Lieutenant Stamets? Stamets gets injured, and we go into the sick bay and we see his doctor friend tell him, kind of fix him up and all that good stuff. At this point, we figure out when they finally get free of the star, this is where Landry, decides, look, I am really loyal, and once he plays that message, Landry's like, I'm so loyal to this guy that I don't care what you say, but I'm going to do this so he sees how loyal I am. Right. Open up. Let's get this thing out of here. Ooh. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. Yes, something just jumped in my head. When Discovery started spinning, once the sports got activated, did you notice wherever that beast was, Ripper was, did you notice he started getting active?
Yeah. Well, you watch Michael's observing that, right? That's the first clue Michael gets. as to
Yes.
what's going on. Again, we're like going through the science with Michael rather than her just solving it off screen or like in her head, right? We're like actually
Yeah.
walking through it with her.
Yeah. So we see, and this is another problem I had that I didn't want to talk about, but we see, so Landry kind of like bites the dust in this episode. And I'm kind of upset because she, to me, hold on, I actually liked her. Like, she was a babe.
I liked her too.
But besides her being a babe, it's like she was this counter to, you know, if we were gonna have, this is why I thought we were gonna get girl and girl action in this episode, because you would have wrong choice of words. But,
go on.
but you would have the science person in Michael, and you would have Landry, and both of them being, you know, counter to each other. Oh, we have to solve this with science. It's like you have Stamets and you have Lorca, but then you have like on a lower level,
yeah,
you have Burnham and you have Landry. I thought that was what you would give us. You know, you'd give us the high level with Stamets and Lorca, and you'd give us, you know, this low level. But again, on the low level, both of them will come to have an appreciation for each other and each other's opinions.
That wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah, I was looking forward to more stories with the two of them, and Discovery was like, no, she died.
Well, so I thought for sure what was gonna happen. First of all, surprise death. Like, I did not see that coming at all, like at all. Right. So hats off to the creator, the director. Like, I did not see that coming at all. I thought he would like hop out of the pen, and then eventually the sedation would take effect, and he'd fall down in a like super dramatic way in the middle of like the room or something like that, and then it would be fine. But then he attacks her, and they even did a whole thing. I think it's purposeful. Like, they did a whole thing where she still looked semi
alive,
like semi alive, and then we go to sick bay, and then when they said she's dead, I was like, what? Like, I almost needed to like rewind and be like, did they really just say that? Like,
because wasn't it like right after? It was like right after Michael asked you to turn the lights on, because Lorca was like, this beast is like me.
Yes.
You know, once there's a lot of lights, because, you know, Riddick and pitch black.
Yep.
And we don't need lights. And so she turned the lights on. So it was literally like maybe 3 minutes. I thought she could have survived. I personally thought she could have
so
survived.
that's an interesting question. So one thought I've had since watching the episode and talking to some friends is, so why does what's the name of the scientist? Stamets. Why does he break his nose in the episode? Like, why? What's the purpose? What's the story purpose of him breaking his nose?
One, maybe what it was for us to meet the doctor.
Okay, that's fair. That's a good reason.
See that relationship, and we could start to see the further divide: science versus tactician.
What if also one of the reasons was to show the technology of being able to heal, how powerful the technology is healing? And then we go to Landry,
and you miss it,
and Landry dies. But it sure feels like Landry's injuries are the kind of injuries that with some of that hand-waving tech, maybe Landry could have been saved. So then the question becomes, what if Lorca let Landry die to motivate Michael?
And I think, I want to be right there with you, and I think he did. I want to think he did, because if you go back to episode 1, was it 1 when Michael encounters the Klingon in space with her suit, and her suit gets compromised, and she almost dies rather. Yeah. In the vacuum of space, and somehow gets revived and resuscitated, and she's back alive.
Right.
So yeah, Lorca probably let her die. He did. He let her die. And
so that's an interesting thought, because that makes Lorca even darker.
Yes, it gives him more mystique. Again, I'm starting to like him.
I told you he ain't coming back to that planet for you.
It's fine. I know what I said. I know what I signed up for. If Lorca dies, if I'm on a planet with Lorca, I know what I signed up for. Hi. Say hi. You know we can hear you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Patrick, this is Amina. She's not on screen, but she says hi.
Amina,
Oh,
that means amen in Luganda.
That
We
means amen in
almost
Uganda.
we almost
That
named
means
my daughter
amen in
Amina.
Uganda.
I'm not even kidding.
He almost named his daughter Amina.
Wow. What do you name her instead?
Isla
Isla.
What's that mean?
doesn't
Don't
mean
ask me.
anything.
He's there.
What does that mean?
Doesn't mean anything. It means oak
It
tree,
doesn't
but
mean it. Oak tree. And she's doing a dance for Isla right now.
Tell him good.
we're way
All
off
right, let's
topic.
let's get back to Star Trek. And so, Landry lets, in my opinion, and probably yours, I don't know how you feel about it, but Landry lets Lorca lets Landry die. Landry lets Lorca die. Lorca.
I mean,
is
that's a
dead.
big statement. That's a big statement to say.
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it right
But
now.
it is
If you're on the fence,
interesting. Why do you show this tech of that nose getting fixed? It
I
feels
mean,
like
you've shown that tech twice because again,
Yeah.
I go back to episode 1. She
Yeah.
died in space.
yeah.
She really died, but she
Yeah.
came back to life. And then you show it to us up close and personal in this episode with
Yeah,
the
it
nose
just like
getting
totally
fixed.
heals his whole nose.
And not just his nose, but I think the nose and probably like some of the eye socket
Yeah,
gets
cartilage,
fractured.
all of it. Yeah.
Everything. So all of this gets fixed.
And I don't see them do
And-
any of that on Landry. Like, they don't try any of that on Landry. They just like
Yeah.
pull over the cloak and they're like,
Oh, she's dead. Sorry. Yeah. So
"You better work
she
harder,
suffers injuries.
Michael."
She suffers injury and she dies. So now Michael
Don't let her die in
now
vain.
is like, so what I liked is I don't know how I felt about it, but I think they're starting to throw in now. Well, what I wanted them to give me was a science and tactician, but they're giving me 2 science officers getting chummy. Tilly and Michael again in this episode.
Yeah.
Tilly helps Michael with stealing the spores from the science division, and so she steals the spores, and then we get to now see she brings the spores into the containment chamber, and we see she gives it to Ripper, and Ripper, did he lick her? I'm not sure if I saw. Did he like a
I don't
dog will come up
remember
to you
he licked her,
like,
but they were like chumming out.
yeah, he came really close
like
to
the
her.
Tilly Michael dynamic.
You like
I
him
hope that
more?
really grows. I think it has a lot of potential. It's kind of like, I don't know, the real sheltered girl meeting the like street smart girl.
True.
And I think there could be some really cool. I think that Tilly obviously is going to learn a lot from Michael, but I think that Michael could even learn some stuff from Tilly, and that could be really interesting. In fact, at the end of this episode, she almost does, right?
Yeah. You know what I see this thing going? If they keep that relationship, I see Michael and Tilly. I see Michael dying and Tilly going further in Starfleet. Michael, to me, if you want to end the series, I feel like the series is going to end with Michael dying.
Either dying or like in some way they have to cover her up, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry. So Michael uses Tilly to get her the spores, and now we find out. And the best part about it is Michael and Stamets are getting chummy. Because in the last episode, we saw him like, I don't know about you. You're the mutineer. Right. You're new. You're temp. I don't know how I feel about you.
And I'm glad about that. I like that dynamic. I think they have, forget the character, I think the actors have some really good chemistry.
Yes. And so that all happened. And so they get chummy. And we jump from there. We get back to the Klingon Empire, the Klingon ship. And we see the same Klingon, so now this is the best. This is the funnest part of the episode, the Klingon on Klingon action.
No, the Klingon sexual tension. That's what it really
Yes. So now we're on. No, we get another view of the Shenzhou. The Shenzhou isn't dead. And I'm thinking to myself, usually when a starship is destroyed or is halfway destroyed, we usually see another starship come and like finish it off.
Yeah, clean up.
But I'm guessing I'm guessing Starfleet, and they're scared. I'm guessing the Federation is scared to go back all the way
out back there. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going back all the way out there. So I'm guessing that's why the Shenzhou and all, not just the Shenzhou, all of its information, probably the black box, all of that is still there.
Right.
You want to destroy, even in modern time, right now today, if Navy destroyer gets gets handicapped on the sea, we get another destroyer come in and finish it off, clean it up. So you don't want anyone to pilfer. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah. Pilfer. Yeah.
You don't want anyone to pilfer your ship.
Yeah, you want
to
get your technology. Not to mention, Starfleet is like pretty advanced. Even the crappy ship that the Shenzhou is pretty advanced. So
advanced that so we get his name. We get the albino has a name. I keep calling him albino Klingon, but he has a name, and his name is Vok.
Oh, is it? What's his name? Vok.
His name is Vok. Yeah, okay. VOQ.
Okay.
So the three Klingons we got on this episode are L'Rell, which is the female, Cole, which is the dark-skinned one.
Yep.
And Vok, which is the albino, where no one wants anything to do with him, but T'Kuvma anointed him. So they're like, okay, we'll hang around you for a time being, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And so Cole betrays Vok. And let's get back to the Klingon on Klingon relationship, or that whole action.
Well, what I want to say is I think it's interesting how I think it's smart and interesting how they're exploring race through Klingons.
Yes.
Because it allows them
I think it's awesome.
Yes, it allows them to explore
that
race and racial issues, but distances it from like real life Earth issues, right? So that they can kind of explore it. Good sci-fi makes you think about those sorts of things without realizing they're making you think about those sorts of things. And so
I think it's amazing too that they're using them as opposed to humans.
That's what I mean, yeah.
It make you think as opposed to like it won't, because like you said, good sci-fi makes you think about, damn, okay, so this is what they're going through. Let me try to mirror it to what we're going through in real life.
Right.
It works. It's perfect. Right. So, because, I mean, we're all Klingons. If you think about it, they're all Klingons. Why should a group of Klingons say, if we're trying to bring all our houses together? And Cole said something really interesting. Cole is the one who betrays Vok. He said something really interesting. He's like, when they get back to the ship and he's figured out that, he's been betrayed because he brought food. He brought food, the main Klingon vessel, and the reason he wants the main or T'Kuvma's Klingon vessel is because they have cloaking technology.
Right.
He wants their cloaking tech so that he can go defeat.
Which is interesting. That's also some Star Trek info for us, is that they have. Now, you watched Enterprise. Do they have cloaks everywhere in Enterprise, or what?
Not everywhere. Some people do, some don't. But the people who do are pretty much like not necessarily advanced. They are ahead in terms of they would usually.
I mean, do all
the Klingons
ships in Enterprise have cloaking? No. Okay.
No. It's pretty much the same thing. Like now, where it's limited to some, where it helps you further divide the Klingons even more. It's like we're above you,
right?
Type thing. Yeah. So that's why the Klingons wanted T'Kuvma's ship. That's why Cole wanted his ship. So Cole comes in, brings food, takes over his ship, takes his men from him, and he says something to him. And even so Vok says to Cole, he's like, hey, look, I'm trying to bring everyone together. We're not gonna fight anymore. And Cole says, oh, just wait till we defeat the Federation. This is over. This whole unity is over, because once this is done, we're gonna start fighting everybody again. We're gonna start the infighting and the civil war again, which leads me to believe in this show, in this season, we're going to see either civil war inside of the Klingons, because Vok is going to come back. He's going to go through, what he's going to go through, and he's going to come back. He's going to go defeat Cole, and then we're going to see the Klingons divide within themselves.
Yep, I think that's right. I think they are going to divide within themselves, but eventually we'll see them come together.
Okay.
That's my guess.
All right.
I think we're eventually going to see a unified Klingon Empire before Discovery is over. Let's put it that way.
Okay, I'll go with it. We'll go with that. And so, what happened, what I really thought was interesting again with that whole Klingon thing was um Laurel in that moment when she sees that she can't win, if she decided to go with Voke, she saw she couldn't win, and so she turns around and she goes, oh, she hands the dilithium to Cole, and she turns around and says, oh nah, I'm with you. I don't. Who's this guy?
And she's from like two different clans, and one's like a warrior clan, and one's like the sneaky, tricky clan.
Trickster. And so she's like the bridge. She's the best of both worlds. And again, if we go back to when they were on the Shenzhou together, they had this, chemistry thing going on. And I thought that was really.
And then they delivered the best line in Klingon history. The best line in Klingon history.
Because you know why that line is so funny? They're looking at each other's eyes.
They're looking at each other. There's like sexual tension between Klingons, which is awkward for us humans watching. Which is an argument for the makeup. The makeup, I think, matters because it makes them feel really alien, which is what they're trying to get across. And then she delivers that line of, should we decouple? And it's like that DE is like the key. You almost have to read it twice because you're like, oh, she said decouple. And then he even like takes a moment. He even does like a double take. He's like, Oh yeah, this. Yeah. She knew what she was doing.
Yeah, she knew what she was doing. It was so good. Really awesome. Oh man, I had something on the tip of my tongue, but I forgot it. But I probably remember
whoever wrote that line. That writer was cracking up laughing as he wrote it.
Probably
he was a happy man as he wrote that line.
It's like, I hope you guys use this in the final take. Please use this. Please use this. And he did, and I loved it. What I also loved about seeing them, or the two of them, is I'm starting to think that either, because at some point we get Klingons joining the Federation. Yes. Is it because of her? Because she's a diplomat.
I mean, that's in the movie. I need to go back and watch that movie, but it was Undiscovered Country is the movie about that happening. Yeah. So I know that she said that she was really inspired by the female Klingon. Remember, there's a female Klingon that takes control of her house in Deep Space Nine with the help of Quark.
Yeah.
And the actress said that that's like the Klingon she's basing this Klingon off of. Like, she was really inspired by that Klingon. So
interesting. So I might have to go look that up again.
Yeah.
What this show forces everyone to do is to go look at all other Star Trek stuff, because the show either pulls a lot of that or shows you certain things that should.
So why are all the fans complaining? Like, shut up.
No, the thing I think fans usually, if you're gonna make something new, we don't want to go back and it's like,
no,
unless you're like the MCU that has said everything connects, then okay. I have to now.
But I don't think you need to go and look at all that stuff. But people are complaining about this show like it doesn't fit into all the other Star Treks. But it
fits perfectly.
I know. Every episode has like 30 things that fit into other Star Treks, it feels like.
And I agree with you. So I don't agree with most fans that say, things don't fit or something sucks.
Yeah, what are they talking about? Doesn't make any sense to me.
So we get back and Michael. So Michael and Stamets now have figured out what Ripper's abilities are, and so they transport Ripper to the forest,
which is like the most amazing reveal ever.
And then we get to see Ripper's symbiotic relationship with the spores,
right?
And I thought that was really awesome. I'm like, okay, so now.
Yeah.
He not just does he have, like he has a relationship with them, brain, when we get to see them. And so not just, again, like you said, she didn't just figure this out from day one. It didn't happen as soon as she saw Ripper.
Right.
She went through processes. And so with her, and what makes this even better is with her and Stamets together, that was how we figured out what that machine that they got from Glenn, that hooked into,
right, which that was one of the kind of the, like, I don't know what to call it, writing cheats in my opinion, of all the things they happened to grab off the Glenn. They happen to grab this one thing they need for the beast to like connect to.
Right,
Like,
right. So yeah, I mean that happened, and I thought that was really awesome. So we get that, and then we jump from there, and so now we're on the bridge, and we, let's transport to Corvin. Oh my God, Corvin 2. That's the name of the mining colony,
Dilithium land.
the lithium land or whatever. So we're now here, and
apparently Corvin 2 shows up in some of the other Star Trek shows as well. I don't know all the details, but oh, you do? Do you know?
Oh my God. Yes, it shows up on Deep Space Nine, bruv. Like Deep Space Nine and Next Generation.
When? What is the?
I don't remember what episodes, but I know for a fact because again, I made sure if I'm gonna come on here and I'm gonna say it, I make sure I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. All right,
yeah.
I'll need to check it out.
That happened. So we get Corvin 2 on here, and and so they finally get there to save Corvin 2. What did you think about Lorca and that whole mission?
What did I think of? Sorry, you're breaking up a bit.
Am I good now?
Yeah, I think you're good now.
Okay. What did you think
about Lorca and the mission? Like, I thought he was being Lorca, man. I thought he was being Lorca. He was like, we're gonna do this thing. Everybody's rushed, and I think Lorca uses that to his advantage because it's hard for anybody to make a case or even the mutiny kind of building up inside of the ship. It's hard for that to build up when everybody is constantly under this hustle, right? It's like everybody is always like, okay, we gotta get to the next thing, and that actually works to Lorca's advantage to like keep everybody moving. So and then the mission was awesome.
So they get on Corvin. Like what I love the most is they didn't get there on time to save the shield, the Corvin shields.
Yeah,
they get there when Corvin's shields had come down. Like it almost felt like they got there too late.
Yes. And then I'm like, what is he doing with like waiting for these ships to come and not firing? I'm like, this ain't Braveheart. Like, what are you doing?
That's exact. I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I was questioning just like you. And then it happened.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. They just like, my understanding is they just like drop a bomb and fold off with the bomb still laying there.
So that's the question. Was it that they dropped the bomb, or maybe when you fold, it sends a shockwave?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. What? Maybe. So one of the cool things I like about folding is how it puts them, now they're the only ship that can do it. And so you would think folding is just this crazy, super powerful thing, but it's not, because it's putting one ship anywhere. But now that one ship anywhere is facing armadas, right?
Exactly.
And so it's not overpowered, because just being able to put one ship anywhere doesn't really turn the tide of battle. It just allows you to do guerrilla tactics, basically.
It would be nice if it put them behind, if they went in behind the enemy, as opposed to like what happened was when they got on Corvin, they were like facing the enemy. It would have been better if it put them behind the enemy, in my opinion, to be honest, because it pushes you behind the enemy. And you're able to defeat them,
I bet they will.
Defeat them, and
I bet it's going to happen. Well, but because the clans are so separate, there may not even be. I mean, I know there is that one planet where Klingons are based off of. I forget the name of the planet, but since they're so disparate, like it's all like separate clans, it may be that like just taking out one dude isn't going to help you at all, right?
Was it Mokai or whatever? Mokai? Or whatever?
I don't remember. It was the very first episode of Enterprise. Remember, they go and
yeah. I think it's Mokai, because so that happens. Discovery came in, saved the day, looked really cool. And one other thing I like about the whole folding thing is when the saucer spins, doesn't the ship kind of do like one of these? Like it's like this, and then it goes like this when it folds, right?
Yep.
It's
It does like it's cool. I love it. I love all the effects.
Oh my god,
the effects are great.
Like, you remember when I said last week that it looks like the effects have gotten better and better every episode?
It's worth putting your $5 $6 in, because
I mean, it doesn't even matter. You're gonna get commercials. You don't care, but it's $6. You get this,
And you're paying for those effects. That's what you're paying for.
seriously.
That's the way I
Pretty
see
much.
it. You're paying for
I mean,
it. To
if you
look
want the
good.
show to look, yeah, if you want the show to look as good as it looks right now, and to even look better later on,
Yeah.
put your $6 in.
Yeah.
I mean, the international community right now is paying for this. You know,
Yeah.
has paid for Netflix. So
It's
yeah.
true.
and so, we get back to the Klingons.
Konos
Laurel-
is the Klingon planet, by the way.
Konos. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Oh, it's because Mokai is where I'll get to that. I get to why I said
Okay.
Mokai. So we get back to the Klingon, and Laurel had suggested to Cole to instead of killing Volk, you want to put him on the Shenzhou so he dies on the Infidel's ship.
Yeah.
You know,
I still don't
And-
understand her play. Like, I understand she was saving his life, but I don't understand her play because they took the technology to use that ship off.
yeah. She came back somehow. She is
She
transported back on
transported
that
over,
ship,
yeah.
and she tells him, "Look, I didn't want to," because again, it made sense to me.
Yeah.
It was the whole ship against the two of us.
Yeah.
If I had opened my mouth and said, "No, fuck you, I'm with
Yeah.
this guy," I wouldn't be able to be. I feel like that's his inside man at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's inside woman.
Yeah. And she's
so
good
she
at it.
tells him- and she's really good at it. She tells him, "I'm doing this for you because I want you, I believe in you, and I know that you have been chosen, and you're the one who's going to save us. So
Yeah.
yes, I want you to go to Mokai, our mother planet, and go spend some time with the witches or the mothers." or some
Yeah.
people.
I think
Yes.
that's probably her clan's planet.
Yes. Go there, spend some time with them, and sacrifice what you have to sacrifice. But you're going to gain this power, you're going to gain this knowledge, and you're going to come back and you're going to win everyone's approval.
I kind of hated the lame dialogue of what will I have to sacrifice? And she's like, everything.
Everything.
I'm like, come on.
I knew that was what it was going to be said. Obviously, that's usually when someone says, "What do I have to sacrifice?" Usually,
This is just kind of lame.
there's never a time when you have to sacrifice nothing.
Very tropey. Very tropey.
Yeah,
Might as
very,
well
very
be
tropey.
Yoda talking to Luke right there.
Right. And so now that's done. So we're almost at the end of the episode where where we come back to see Michael bring another thing of spores to Ripper, and he's
But we
like,
didn't talk about Ripper going through the folding either, which is like that was some of the best non-verbal acting
yes.
I think I've seen Martin Green do. Like,
do you think,
you
think-
felt the emotion she was going through that scene.
two questions? Do you think someone is actually playing Ripper? Like his movements, like
It's probably just a CGI artist or a
that's like-
several of them.
on CGI.
Yeah, I think
it's not
it's
like
all
a
CGI.
mocap.
No, I'm sure
Okay.
it's all CGI. But I mean,
you're
those
right.
CGI artists, I mean, they take that they can get emotion. I mean, think of like Pixar
But
and
you're
that
right.
kind of stuff.
You're right. When she's standing there looking at Ripper going through what he's going through in that, like when the machine hooks up to him and she's like, you can see in her face there's like some kind of hurt, like, dang, I didn't know this was what it took.
Yeah.
Like, it was something where even the second time she brought him spores, she felt really bad
Yeah.
when she opened the containment unit and she's like,
She
"Here."
should.
And he comes up and then he kind of walks back like, I know you've done this before. I'm
Yeah.
hip. I don't really want this.
Yeah.
The next thing I want from this episode, and so that's pretty much almost the end of the episode. But you were right. Tilly had spoke to Michael and try to like teach her some things. Like, yo, I know you're kind of Vulcan, but you're also kind of human too. So you're allowed to feel certain things. Open up the box and see what's up with, see what's in it.
Yeah.
And she opened it, and we get Philippa again in this episode, which I was like, yes. I was sure that I was so 100% like Anthony's gonna come up and be like, yes, I got two things. I got the Shenzhou and I got Philippa, because Anthony's one of the people last week that he misses the Shenzhou.
Yeah.
Like, we got
he just wants the prequel to this show.
Yeah. So I wouldn't mind a prequel though, but that's another topic.
I think we can explore it in like, you can have flashback episodes that are almost completely on the Shenzhou.
Yes. And so I find myself at the end of the episode talking about what's in the box. Like, because they took like 30 seconds to go around
They did, didn't they?
and show you what was in the box. I'm like, yo,
They did.
what is in this box?
Long
And so we
reveal.
finally see what's in the box is a telescope. And she's like, yeah, it's been handed down from generation to generation. And I thought it was really cool. I thought it was
Remember
really
they
cool
used that telescope in the first episode.
Yes. This show really knows what it's about and does all its callbacks and make sure you if you miss something on like an episode, it might be something important maybe in the next episode or future episode. So this is one of the shows where
I haven't quite figured out what that telescope means, if that makes sense yet. Like, it's an interesting gift. I mean, obviously it's a heartfelt gift and all of that, but I think there may be more to it than meets the eyes, and I haven't totally figured out what that is yet.
Yeah, so I was just really excited with seeing this episode. I was like, this is a Star Trek episode. So now we get to the part where I'm going to ask you the question. So we're done.
This is like, you know how like in comic book movies and everything, it's always the second movie where things get good because we're done with the introduction. We're done with watching them get their powers. We're done with all the like who's who. And we finally just get the real thing. We get Spider-Man, right? Like we get
Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how I felt about this show, is like, this is the episode where we finally get to see what the directors and writers think Star Trek is, right? Like, where they really show us what they want to do with this show. And this is, in my opinion, miles better than the Abrams movies. Miles better.
No. You know what? I'll say this. Maybe not all the way better than the first one, because the first one set you up for something great, and then everything else kind of
the first one's only kind of building story, and then we get to the second one, and the second one's like, okay, this is exactly what I thought. A popcorn movie, which is fine. I love popcorn sci-fi spaceship movies. I love them. But Star Trek has to be a little bit more for me.
No, I feel you. As a Trekkie, I believe in the fact that Star Trek has to feel, you have to have a nice balance of action and science and exploratory. And this show, I believe you sent an article in the chat just by name Discovery. It's also the
You're breaking up bad again.
Name this thing with everything. Patrick?
Technical difficulties. Right. Can you say that paragraph a second time? Sorry.
No. You're back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh, no. All right, good. Yeah, I was saying the name Discovery isn't just the name of the ship. It's the name Discovery also for the name of the show. It's not by accident. This isn't Discovery. It's something where you find out something. You get to discover things about the show as you go on.
Well, they kind of said in that like article that like this is the show that kind of shows how Starfleet gets to what we know in the original series and gets to like kind of the ideals and beliefs. And I mean, have they even mentioned the Prime Directive yet? Did they mention the Prime Directive in Enterprise?
Oh, in Enterprise? Are you talking about Enterprise?
Well, no, I just mean, has the Prime Directive shown up yet at this point in time? Because it kind of feels like they're trying to set down. My understanding is by the end of the show, Starfleet will have like laid out kind of what it believes and how it exists as a society as we see it from original series on. And that's why I think the directors and writers are frustrated with some of the fans who are complaining, because they're like, wait, we're trying to tell the story of how we get this world to the place that you love, right? So don't expect it to start there, because we are telling that story. And I think that's really, really exciting, honestly.
Yeah, I really like it. I think it's an exciting way to tell a Star Trek story, because we know this whole Star Trek thing, from where it started till now but this with Discovery, we get a how did we get here? And then what I like most about Discovery is what I think Discovery is going to end up being is like the story of Star Trek, or why Starfleet is the way they are.
Right.
We need them because we're going to see them. We're going to see lines. lines are going to be crossed, and people, and then Starfleet within themselves going to say, can we let ourselves get to this point? Let's kind of taper ourselves. Let's kind of hold ourselves back. And I believe once they do that, they're going to hold themselves back. The reason they're going to be able to hold themselves back, the reason why we don't see some of this technology, the Star Trek shows, is because we're going to see the benefits, but then we're going to see why we shouldn't have this technology. Yeah. It's kind of like, you know, we let in Terminator, we let AI get to the point where it's gotten to in Terminator. Yeah. But it's like if we came back to the past and we had a chance to stop ourselves, you know, at any point, because wasn't it in Terminator, or was it Terminator 1 or 2, where they go to meet what's his name, Victor Stone's dad, you know, the guy who created oh
yeah, it's Terminator 2.
Skynet.
It's Terminator 2.
They go to meet the guy who created Skynet, and they try to stop him from going through it. So it's like, if it's like in Star Trek, what I believe Discovery is they know, they already started creating it, and they've seen the effects without getting to the point of Terminator effects. So we're not going to let it get there. We're going to stop it here. Right. And that's what I believe Discovery is going to be like at the end of the day. Right. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that by the end of the show, we're gonna understand why the Federation works the way it does and has the rules that it does, and even like how, I mean, it could be that even this like weird mutiny that we're seeing on the ship, that can have effects with how like officers and all that kind of stuff is chosen for later ships. Like, I think they're basically gonna learn their lessons the hard way in Discovery, that we just take for granted by the time we get to the original series. And especially, and that also makes Kirk a cooler character, because Kirk is always pushing those limits.
Yes.
So that explains why they see Kirk as dangerous in some ways, because Michael or Lorca pushed against those limits and it created problems. And now you'll kind of understand why admirals are like, no, we don't do that around here, because the last time we did that, stuff went wrong.
You said Kirk pushed against the limits. What if Kirk? Oh no, what if Lorca? I'm sorry, you said Lorca pushed against the limits.
Lorca goes beyond the limits.
So what if Lorca and Michael and Discovery is the reason why we have those limits now?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I think. By the end of Discovery, we'll say, okay, because of the events in Discovery, they put down these expectations and rules and limits on every future ship and fleet, and exactly.
This is what I'm gonna say to Anthony. So the next time we do this and Anthony's on here, I'm gonna say to Anthony this, like, look, or to not even to Anthony, to all the fans. I know you have the same message, and I'll let you say it too. To all the fans who said, why does this show exist? Or why is this show here? This is why the show is here. In my opinion, the show is here to show you guys, again, if to say in our community right now, in today's America, before we got to Donald Trump's America, we had said to ourselves, maybe we need to stop X, Y, and Z from happening. Maybe we need to taper ourselves and, you know, hold ourselves more accountable and set better rules in place. Maybe we wouldn't have gotten to Donald Trump's America. And I believe Star Trek Discovery is pre-Donald Trump America, or it's pre the worst of us, pretty much. And we've gotten to see the worst of us, and we said to ourselves, and this is why probably Section 31 is why they exist and why they have what they have, is like it's been passed down to us, and we know exactly what this is. We know why we shouldn't have this. And this is exactly what Discovery is. I'm past giving Discovery a chance. I'm officially all in.
I agree. I'm definitely all in. If this episode is the tone that we're going for the most part. Now, one of the things I love about Star Trek in general is that they can change tone episode to episode. There can be episodes that are, you know, lighthearted. Like on Deep Space Nine, we have a full baseball game that gets played for an episode. Like we can have episodes that are lighthearted, and we can have episodes that are super intense, and I'm totally fine with that. But if this is kind of like baseline tone for what the show is going to be, then I'm really excited. And I'm also excited that it's a prequel. Like usually prequels don't they don't serve a purpose. But I feel like this prequel, both from the Klingon and the Federation side, is serving a really important purpose, not just for the show, but whenever we look at Star Trek as like Americans, as humans, we look at it and we say, that's impossible. That can never exist. Like, that would never actually happen. Remember the Deep Space Nine episode where they like go back in time and they like see the riots between the classes and all that kind of stuff? And they're kind of like laying down, like, this is how the Federation kind of came to be the way it is. I feel like this whole show is like laying that groundwork. And I think it's important for us as people here in the now and present, because it makes it feel like the utopian kind of ideals of Star Trek might actually be possible in a way that we don't actually feel that they're possible right now. So if Discovery can tell that story and take us from the non-utopia to the utopia, then we have like this roadmap of how that could happen.
Could happen, yes. I mean, it's so evident, especially with this episode. You know, the first 3 episodes, again, the first 2 more like the Abrams movies with the big bang and the war and the destruction. The second episode was kind of like a introduction into, you know, Discovery and the ship and the captain.
Not just that, but the crew. So it's actually the 3rd episode that's like that. And because you're like introduced to this monster, it almost feels like we're going very action monstery, like almost like a. Do you know what I mean? And so I was worried. I was like, okay, are we like just going to go really dark with this? Right. But then that's the twist. They're messing with us, because then they're like, you know, that thing that you thought was this evil monster? You're not the. It's not actually the monster. The humans are the monster.
The humans. And that's the best part. You know. So I think when I was doing the recap, I forgot to talk about something that's really, really important that tells us why the monster isn't the monster that we think it is. She brings in Saru.
Yep.
And why, you know what I think that that elevator bridge scene was important for? It probably wasn't important to show the bridge, but it was important for her and Saru to see the ganglia.
Oh yeah,
threat ganglia.
Oh, I'm not saying it wasn't important. I'm saying that I guarantee you every single episode they're gonna find an excuse to get her up onto the bridge, even though she's just an engineer with no rank. I'm just telling you, it's gonna happen.
None whatsoever. But they're trying to cater to you. You want a bridge.
I know. Well, I'm telling you that the writers and directors know that like you can't tell a good Star Trek story off the bridge.
Yeah. And so, but I mean, it's looking like you could on this show.
Maybe.
Because how many minutes of bridge did we get total? Maybe 5?
We get more than that. We get more than that.
Yeah. It was probably 5 minutes because we get to the bridge the first time.
It does help. You can show a lot of stuff. Because of the effects, we can show a lot more going on outside of the ship too. Whereas in old shows, you couldn't do that, so you use the bridge as like the window into what was going on outside of the ship.
There's a lot of effects that go. You know, if you don't show bridge a lot, then you don't have to use a lot of effects because you have to show outside the bridge.
You need to know what's going on around the ship. Yeah,
exactly.
That's fair.
But you know, so. And then she brings in Saru, and then that whole threat ganglia thing didn't happen. So we are the monsters. We are the monsters.
Yeah,
they are the monsters.
Michael sets off the ganglia, and you know our water bear doesn't throw off the ganglia. Then that tells you something. So
it's a water bear.
So I have one really big issue with this episode, though. Actually, I have a huge issue with the entire show, and so this is where I'm a little nervous and upset. So I've said nothing but positive things up until now.
Yes.
So let's preface that. Like, I'm very positive about the show. However, Star Trek is very much a show about ensemble cast. It's very much a show about people. It's very much a show where for one episode, we can focus completely on this one character. And then the next episode, that character almost doesn't even show up in the episode.
Right.
And that is not happening. Like, I don't see any potential for that currently in Discovery. Discovery is 100% Michael's show currently.
Hold on. What if? Again, this is why I say what if.
There's a part of me that wants Michael to die at the end of the season. Ned Stark style.
Maybe she dies season 2, episode 4.
Like, it could happen, like, and then we do get the rest of the cast. But I mean, I don't really want her to die. I think she's amazing, but I do miss the ensemble aspect of Star Trek.
Now, this is what I'm gonna get into. This is what I'm gonna ask you. What if they really want to highlight everything else? So we have Michael. Yes, she's the driving force of the show, and she's
Yeah.
not at this point. She doesn't even rank
Yeah.
in Starfleet. She's not.
Yeah.
She doesn't rank, so she shouldn't matter. We shouldn't care
Right.
about her, right?
Other than she's
According
like
to
one of
every
the
other Star
smartest
Trek we've
people
seen.
on the ship.
Right. But then it's all. We also have this Klingon war. We have the big war,
Yeah.
Starfleet versus the Klingons, the Federation versus the Klingons. But we also have the civil war that's brewing with Volk, the albino Klingon. What if this show isn't just about Michael, but also about him?
I think it is. I think it definitely is. That's fair. I'm just saying that part of Star Trek is that ensemble crew on a ship and their relationships with each other. And I don't think we're going to get that in season 1. That doesn't mean by season 2 we couldn't get there. Because they're going to, the thing about it is, you know how they were originally going to do this is just like one story and then jump to a completely different ship with a different cast.
I kind of feel like they still could. They still could, and they probably should.
But I think they chose not to. And because they chose not to, they're going to have to generate new story by season 2. And so that's when I think it might get more like a traditional Star Trek show.
Anyways, but what I feel like they should do,
once Michael grows a beard,
I'm sorry. What I feel like they should do is also, because we're getting to see everything from Michael's point of view.
Right.
But I think you're right. We should bring more characters in. I think it's all what we're looking at is how Michael interacts with the whole crew.
Right.
He's going to be interacting with everyone. And it's like, oh, Michael and Tilly this week, or Michael and Commander Landry this week. And then probably next week we're going to get, you know what? Have you seen Guardians of the Galaxy?
Of course. Yeah.
You know, not Gamora's sister.
Yeah.
The one with the, one of the people on the bridge looks like her. You know.
Oh yeah.
The one with the metal, not the full metal one, just the one with the little thing on the side of her head.
Yes, and she was on the Shenzhou as well, right? Shenzhou. She was.
Yes, they were all. So it makes, like you said, it makes sense for them to not totally discount the Shenzhou and bring them.
Yeah, I'd like them to develop the other characters more somehow, and it also could make the show deeper because we haven't really seen how all the other characters are dealing with Michael being on.
But at the end of this, you remember, Tilly said to Michael, "Yeah, people are talking about you, but they're talking about you a little different this time."
Yes, it's true. It's true.
So maybe episode 5.
Yeah.
You see, now we're going. So we've done the science episode this week. Now we're gonna get next week with the previews we saw, with the trailer we saw.
The prison
episode. Get captured. Yeah, the prison episode. So now we've done the science episode this week. We're gonna get a prison episode next week.
Yeah.
At what point? Like, I'm with you, but at what point are they gonna bring the rest of the other characters, like the rest of the people?
I don't know. The prison scene does have a lot of potential to develop Lorca, though, so that could be good. And it also gets Lorca off the show. I mean, off the bridge, so you could develop Saru and some of those other characters a little bit more.
Okay, so we'll see. I mean, we're gonna come back and do this next week.
I don't know. It feels like it's very Michael centric, though. So I'm hoping
it does. The show
eventually we have more of an ensemble cast. But I also know that like originally Next Generation was supposed to be all about Riker, and that's definitely not what happened, right? So
yeah, no.
We'll see how the show adapts.
So we'll see. So that was your one negative, right?
Yeah.
Or is that all the negative you have on this week's episode?
I mean, that's the big negative to me, is just that I want ensemble. I want to see so the other negatives was just minor things, little cheats and stuff, like the fact that they took that one thing off of the Glen that they happen to need. Right. And I don't know. I'm very curious to see Lorca's motivations and things. I still haven't figured out what his game is exactly. So
remember,
I would like to see the backstory of Lorca. Like, he almost feels like a soldier, like one of those people who is like very adept and in his home during war, and then war ended, and then he like felt like he had no purpose.
Yeah. And finally, he's like,
so I want some backstory on him a little bit.
Because I think, was it last week? Oh no, this week, where he told Stamets, he was like, "Yo, Discovery's not a science vessel anymore; it's a warship now." Like,
she's gonna die next.
Yeah, who's gonna die next? I don't. Maybe not. Maybe no one is gonna die next week. But I think if we play who's gonna die next, I'm gonna guess, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What major character is gonna die next? Man, I'd hate to say this, but Food might be gone.
I think he eventually has to be gone. I think Michael becomes number one.
You know the best part about Food getting gone is I think he's gonna get eaten.
Of course.
Like, I just hope his death is not like a regular. I hope his death is like they eat him death. His death like Food death.
Yes.
But yeah. Anyway, so that was your negative for this. What was your negative for this episode? If you want, let's keep it to this episode.
For just this episode?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there was a couple of clunky lines, particularly with the Klingons, but it was fine. And this is the best episode by far. And I think it's because we're past all the introductory junk and we're into the actual show.
Like I said, every episode to me has gotten better and better. You know, we got the first episode, then we got the second, then we got the third one, which can be, but this one feels more like a Star Trek show.
Yeah, totally.
It's the most Star Trek of
I've
all
seen
of
a lot of people too who are like tentative on Facebook and stuff. They're like, I'm not sure about this, that this was the episode where they like decided, okay, I'm in.
Yeah. I mean, I told you I didn't know how I've said, you know, on all of the other ones, I love this show and I'm in it. I'm 100%. But this is the one where I felt like, yes.
And it's nothing. Can we just enjoy that? Can we just enjoy that Star Trek is back?
That's pretty much it to me. To be honest, once it was announced, I was like, Star Trek is back. Because to be honest, we got the movies and I was like, you know, but then by the second movie, we got a popcorn flick. The third one was definitely a popcorn flick.
I haven't seen the third one. I forgot it.
The same thing about the third one is it kind of makes sense, but there's so many popcorn things about it that kind of takes it to like, that kind of takes it from a good, that what could have been a good Star Trek movie to popcorn.
Right. Especially like the second one, you're dealing with like the Wrath of Khan storyline, and Wrath of Khan's not just a good Star Trek movie. Like it's held up as one of the best films.
It's the Wrath of Khan is one of the Star Trek stories that should, should have just been there. Like should have been untouched.
Yeah, I agree.
Because what J.J. Abrams did was change the timeline, you know, with his reboot.
Yeah.
So I felt like you could have done a Wrath of Khan and changed that too, but no.
Yep.
Yeah. No, but I'm so happy that Star Trek is back. I'm so happy this show is here. The show exists. So the show exists so we can talk about it, and we're gonna keep doing this weekly. And I want to thank you again,
and maybe
Patrick.
Anthony will do it too. Maybe.
Yeah, Anthony, So Anthony, we're calling you out. We're definitely
we're throwing shade.
Yeah, I definitely want to thank you
because he hated this episode. He hated this episode.
That's why I said this would have been great because
and you know what? You can't get Anthony to shut up. So you know what's going to happen? He's going to show up on the next episode and he's going to talk about this episode the whole time. And we're going to be like, "Listen, man, you missed your chance.
You missed your chance." I was gonna be like, you know what? I'll give you maybe 5 or 15 minutes to talk about it, but you know, you're right. No, you missed your chance.
Like, come on, man.
I'm gonna pull a Lorca. You missed your chance. Like you had your chance and you missed it.
Yeah.
But no, this episode, I don't understand why there should be any hate in this episode. I feel like the people who don't like this episode don't understand this episode. Maybe you have to watch it again. Because this episode points out a lot of things about the humans, a lot of things about the Klingons, and it shows you more of Michael and her, you know, what her smarts are. Like where people thought she was a twink, according to Anthony, she was a twink and she just had everything handed to her. No, she actually had processes.
We watched her figure it out. That was
the best thing I liked about this episode. So I want to thank you again, Patrick. Because
it's been great. I love doing this, Mo. It's super fun.
Yes. I can't wait till we do our Star Wars Rebels one.
When are we doing that?
The Star Wars Rebels, I want to do it either before the debut episode or after the premiere episode. So it's gonna be that. And for the Star Wars, I'm thinking maybe we shouldn't make it weekly. Maybe we should make that bi-weekly so we get 2 episodes in one. As you know, because we're doing this weekly, and then if we do Star Wars, we're gonna do that bi-weekly so we get 2 episodes in one. And that's what I think that Star Wars should be like. But honestly, I can't wait till we do Star Wars. I hope Anthony's on Star Wars.
Yeah.
I love all the stars, Star Trek, Star Wars. I love all of them, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that we love them too, and we love.
It's been
We
great.
love them on Earth too. It's been great.
I'm really like everybody just needs to shut up, stop complaining about little details, and just be happy that you have Star Trek back. Just be happy.
You know what
to
I
have it
think?
back.
You know what I think it is. We're in this internet era where people complain about stuff, and we get to see the complaints. I think
Yeah.
he pulled up a newspaper clipping article
Yeah.
from like way back when that
Yep.
showed was it
Next Generation.
Next Generation TNG. I was about to say TNG. It showed Next Generation and showed how people felt about the
Yeah.
casting.
People hated it.
And we didn't. People hated it, but it was something that was. If you didn't read the newspapers back then, you didn't know. If you didn't get the newspapers back then, you didn't know. Now,
Sure.
if people hate it and you see and you know, you understand. So this show, this episode, this discussion that I want us to keep doing is to show people that there are good parts of this. That
Yeah,
this
and I think people are judging it based on the subscription thing, which is an unfair reason. Like you can be upset about the subscription thing, but you shouldn't judge the TV show based on that.
right
Those should be
because
separate.
this is a legit TV show. It's a legit show, and the show we're getting and the quality of the quality of the show, the quality of effects, and all the good stuff that we're getting. Because again, for us to see that ship spin once and
It was
spin
awesome.
twice was
Yeah.
awesome.
It's
And
awesome.
if we're gonna get that on a weekly basis, they gotta pay.
I'm willing to pay money for it. I want to pay for the good effect.
And I'm definitely fine for that.
You know, when you were watching Deep Space Nine during the Dominion Wars, you were like, "Man, I wish they had a budget to make this look awesome." Well,
Exactly.
now you have that opportunity to give them that budget. So,
Yeah. So
thanks for having me on, Mo.
No. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate this. Patrick might as well be a part of Earth 2 at this point.
I appreciate it. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Thank you for coming. We'll do this again next week for episode 5. And
dude, were you looking forward to Sunday night? Like I was.
Dude, I look forward to two nights a week now.
It felt like Thrones again to me. It felt like Thrones.
Yes, I feel excited for 2 nights a week. One for Sunday night.
Yeah.
And for tonight when we do these discussions, like because these discussions have become an important part of this, and Earth 2 needs to understand that this discussion is not going to stop. If I have to do this on my own,
it's fun. It's great.
I'll do it. But it's fun, and I really thank you for coming.
Cool.
Well, it wouldn't be a good episode if I didn't end out on a really good theme.
All right.
And so I want people to understand how I love this show and I love Star Trek. And so
bye, everybody. I'm always bad at
the Thank you, Patrick. Thank you.
Thank you, Mo. It was fun.
We're going to catch you next week for episode 5 discussion.
Awesome.